Hello and welcome to Floyd Models Kit View Time. Today we've got Kinetic's latest release. This is the 148 scale Harrier GR.1 GR3. As you know, I'm a bit of a fan of their Harriers. Let's face it, it's nice to see the older ones coming down the line. I've done their FA2, beautiful kit, goes together really well, and the detail is absolutely gorgeous. What we've been waiting for though is the earlier ones for the REF one. Definitely though, the GR1 and 3 for me is the definitive Harrier, growing up with this one. This one on the box is the GR3 with the longer nose. GR1 is obviously with the first one with the no seeker in the nose, so it's got the more pointy nose on the front. So having a look around on the box, you can see fantastic box art, love it. GR3, what's not to love? Okay, apart from, I have to say, it's got air-to-air missiles. That's sick, it with rocket pods on there. That's how we remember the GR3 doing its bit. Okay, a couple of nice things to look out for is this one where it says obviously designed by Cross Delta, obviously very nice, and decals by Cartograph, which again makes it somewhat of a very nice features to add to your kit. So on the box art, we've got a little bit of information about the actual Harrier GR3. Obviously they're calling it a 2-in-1 because you can do it as the GR1 or the GR3 normal nose or long nose version on there. Kit number for this one is K48060. And on this side you can get an idea of the differences. So this is your GR, basically ones here with the pointy nose, GR3 with a longer nose with a seeker in the nose, okay, in for that one. So you can see some very nice details in there like that. So in the box we are greeted by a very nice kit. So clear parts straight off the bat on the top here. We've got the main screws in there like that, and then we've got the wing sections in there, and then we've obviously got the different types of wings for the different ones on here, so we'll explain that in a moment. And then obviously we've got some of the weapons and various models down in there, and we've actually got the, as I say, some of the weapons fit, some of the different types of missiles on there. Again, this is generic. Some of these it never used, okay? We do get a little bit of photo etch as well, which we'll have a look at. And then obviously we've got the instructions and those all important decals in there like there. So starting off with, again, that looks a bit pants, doesn't it? Well, they do this on a photocopier. Seriously, I think they have done. I think they photocopied clearly the instructions and then put a very ill-fitting staple in the middle. That's a bit sad. As I say, really nice box art, lovely decals, and then, yeah. Anyway, down in here, we've obviously got the parts call out for it. And again, down in here, parts reference for them as well with the different ones. So we've got FA2 intakes, parts and various things. So again, that's the aftermarket type bits if you wanted to go down in there. Parts down in here, colour call out. So again, we've got MiG, Vallejo, your guns, Tamiya or Humbrol. Okay, so straight into it. So as you can see down in here, seats, normal way putting those all together, and then we're working down into the actual, what's unusual, actually it's doing the main wheel well first. And then obviously the main wheel well has got the speed brake into the back of it as well. Cockpit and pointing out the various bits and pieces down in here. It does have this movable nozzle business, but yeah, it's a bit gimmicky. I always think on these, you might as well position them and leave them as is, okay? Talking about making some trimming and various little bits in here to making things fit and going through the normal of making up the body of the Harrier, okay? So we're going through all of that. We have got the fan system going in here. Have a look at my build when I did the FA2. There's a couple of little things in there to help that fit better, okay? And then obviously fitting in the nose wheel well into the back of the actual cockpit with the intake system on there just like that. Talks about obviously doing the actual scheme depending on which one you're doing for nozzles and painting, and then obviously you've got the blow-in doors on the sides of the intakes. Now at rest, and this is where it's a little bit of what it's showing you on here, the top ones are falling in because they're actually just gravity. So when the air is pushing through, obviously it pulls them out of the way. When it's drawing it in, it pulls them in. But at rest, the top ones do drop open and the bottom ones close shut. So that is correct. If you're in flight, obviously flying along, you want them all to be shut. Okay, so that's actually quite a nice touch because some of them do them all open. Obviously that's wrong. Then we've got your wings, so making sure you pick out the right wings that you're going to be going for on this one. There's a couple of holes to fill in there. And then again, nice touch on this one. We do have flaps and the actual ailerons, which shows them in the closed position, but I don't think it's rocket science to get those in the open position and have them slightly drooped. Now, depending on tails you're doing and various things like that will depend on the actual tail. There's a couple of little slight differences for those as well, so you want to be doing that. You've got the wing section going in on the top, and then obviously your main gear and going through. Obviously the biggest difference will be the nose. So again, you've obviously got the little short normal pointy one, or you've got the longer one as well, depending for the GR3. This is your GR1, this is your GR3. I don't know why they just don't put here, instead of putting markings, they just put GR3 and GR1. It would be somewhat easier, I think, to follow along. Doors, various parts all going open and done, and then down in here, don't forget, again, slightly wrong. They're actually showing it with the main doors open. The Harrier closes up its doors after the gear is up or down. It's only actually in the open position for inspection. So again, you might want to, you know, make it a little bit more accurate and close up the main doors and the nose doors. Obviously, think FOD, this engine exhaust is blowing all this air. It's going to end up going into the actual doors. That's why they close, and hence it has this small one at the front here, which then stays open just for these areas, and with the rear one as well. You've got the little slap one as it goes through. The front one as well, this little area does make up with the strakes on the side to make up a little skirt system to actually aid with the cushioned effect for landing. All right. Then obviously on the top, depending on your marking, is going to be depending on your aerials as well. So we've got all of those ones going down in there. We get a decal for the deck cord, too many D's in there as well. So we want to be putting that one in. And then obviously if you're going to be doing it with a refueling probe on or off, depending on which version you're doing as well, right the way through there. Rockets, again, we've got obviously the fuel tanks being fitted on there. You've got the Aiden gun pod system being fitted onto there, and then obviously we've got sidewinders, and we've got rockets as well, depending on which ones you're going to be doing, depending on versions as well. So we've got the RAF version or the Navy version. We've got your pylons as well. And then you've got your swing braces for all your outer pylons as those being fitted in. And then again, being fitted on there just like that, depending on how you're going to be going through. Marking options, as you can see, it's a little bit unfortunate that this is a photocopy sheet being pushed right the way through, but you get the idea of what colours are going where. So it depends if you're going to go with the sort of lighter, with the green and grey with the light underside, or you're going to go around with a full wraparound camo onto it like the later ones had. Again, depending on which version you'll be doing. Generally very nice, but the same mistakes are in the instructions that were in the first lot, which I built 5 years ago, whatever it was. So it's a bit of a shame about that one. You thought they might have picked up on that, but they haven't. Decal wise, as you can see, again, these are Cross Delta. They do a fantastic job on their decals, let's face it. And again, when you get on the sort of, you know, with the close-up of it, they are gorgeous. Very, very nice. So designed by Cross Delta, done by Cartograph. What's not to love? Okay, so you know they're going to be the best. That's pretty much the best as you can get. Best designer with best decals. A little bit of photo etch. So we've got a little bit of photo etch down in here. So we've got some harnesses, some various things. And again, you've got things on here you're like, why? So we've got slime line decals, but I think this is just generic Harrier ones. So the way I'm thinking is they've got slime lines on here. As I'm pretty sure none of the GR.1 fleet ever had that. I think it's pre those days, but does that mean that we're seeing another one coming down the line later on, or is that just generic? Okay, so into the meat of it. Let's start in the fuselage. So fuselage itself, big old crinkly bags. We've got it just down in here, as you can see. Again, very, very nice. This is what they call their Gold Series. And again, it's really, really impressive because the actual molds look so much nicer, so much crisper, smoother. The detail seems a lot more refined as you're looking at it straight off of the bat. Okay, so looking at the fuselage, as you can see, is what we're talking about. It's not covered in a million rivets like you might expect. It is as it is in real life, so that's pretty good. You've got all the surface detail you might expect. It's quite shallow. It's quite refined, shall we say, with the details, but it all looks very, very nice. Okay, if we start up here, you can see those intakes. We got the cockpits, and obviously you got the difference. We got all the doors open, or half and half, which is exactly how it should be. It's nice they're molded in one, because when they're individuals, they are an absolute nightmare. You got the outriggers, okay, for the actual gear. They look really nice, even though they're molded in one. And I'd love to see the wheels separately, because it's just a paint to paint. You can see them on here. The other big point to point out here is the nose. So this is your actual GR1 nose, and obviously over here we have the GR3. And again, I might have wanted this to be fitted afterwards. It would have been nicer to actually fit this probe in afterwards, purely because when you put this on, you know it's going to catch on something and you're going to snap it off, which either means you're going to lose the part on here or it's going to make a mess of your nose. So again, a little bit of forethought in those areas I think would have made a world of difference. Generally though, looking at all the parts, really very, very nice indeed. Again, it's a little bit of a shame that the doors are molded in the down position like this, because technically they're not, so you want to change those out, unless, as I say, you are going for a maintenance look. Nice touch though, this speed brake door, we've got no ejector pins and the detail is beautiful. So we've got recessed riveting down in here as well, which is very nice, which admittedly, all right, it probably should be raised, but from a wash point of view, it looks great. Also looking down in here, you can see how the sprue attachment points are now this under fitting. So instead of going to the edge, it's an underfit, which again, I know there's people out there say they're a pain because obviously you've got to cut them off instead of just edging and that, but I actually prefer these because you can put them onto a sanding plate and just give them a quick rub and you're good to go. That said, we do have ejector pins still floating around. You might see we've got them down in here, so we've got one on this which technically you will need to remove, okay, as well as we've got them on this one which you're going to have to remove. So it's a bit like, okay, taking with some, take away with others. Generally though, we can see on this side as well, we've got really nice good detail down in the actual cockpit. So we've got all the framework and everything we need to get us going. The pitot tube as well, to be honest, good looking one. You can get aftermarket ends for them if you wanted to go down that route, but generally very, very nice indeed. Okay, so that's all very good. Okay, so down in here, depending obviously on your GR1 and 3 on the actual the tail. So just to point out, we've got a radar receiver up here on the GR3s. The GR1, which is this one down here, doesn't have it, hence the difference between the two tails on here. Okay, but generally on the close-up, as you can see, good panel lines, good detail on all of those, with both of those with or without. And then again, working our way across obviously up here on the smaller parts, they'll look very nice, very nicely detailed. All the stuff into here. We've got the cockpit, and again the cockpit isn't massively over. This is a nice piece of moulding because again this can get a complicated area. This is the fit where the fan blade goes with the cockpit, with the actual intake and things like that as well. So that's actually quite nice. The seat as well, different types of seat. We've obviously got the full headboard back and the normal one, so depending on which versions you're doing, again it's a little bit generic on these, but generally no real problems at all. Ejector pins, because obviously this is going to go together, you might want to just give this a slight rub. They're a little bit pronounced and a bit edgy, shall we say, and then some of them are recessed, so it might be worth just giving these a bit of a sand down just to make sure they're clean, to give you a nice wedge together. But generally, I have to say, very nice, no problem with that. Wings and things. So in here we have one of the wings, and I don't know which one we want, so I'm just trying to look at the differences between the two. Unless it's blatantly obvious and I can't see it, which is usually the way, because I can't really see it, but I'm sure there's a difference between those wings even though I can't see it. Okay, so starting off with this wing section, again beautifully detailed, lovely recessed. We've got the vortex generators across here at the top, obviously aiding more airflow over the top of the wing with the control surfaces, very nice indeed. My gripe, and I'll say it as a gripe, is this here. You know, as I say, it is a nice way of doing it, but why didn't they just carry it straight the way through? As I say, if they had actually made the panel line under this item, but they've hooked it round here on the end, which is just a little bit of a pain doing it that way. You think they would just literally take it straight across, you know, and just to the front, but there must be a reason whilst they've decided to leave that little bit out, because you might end up with a seam line now, and now you've got to do it. Yet if they had just taken that to the edge here, so this panel just goes straight instead of curving, and then that way we wouldn't have had a join, which in theory then we've already got a join running around here, you know, which is going to be no problem, and then we've got a small tiny little, maybe a bit of a filler job in there, which is a little bit unfortunate. But generally I have to say the rest of it's very nice indeed. Good detail with these blowing doors at the side and with the lights and the various things. They look very, very nice indeed. Okay, no problem with that one. And then again, because we are generic, I'm not sure which one's which, but we've got another load of blow-in doors and various things. So again, take your pick on which one we're using. I think we're using the other one, to be honest. I think this is a different model. But obviously this has got the fan blades and the various things in there, just like that. Okay, so the other one, which I think is the one we are using, because this one comes with the gorgeous rocket pods. So again, this is the wing system, exactly the same as the other one. Again, apologies, I'm not sure which one we are using, but generally this is the business end, the fun end. So we've got the rocket pods down in here, and again with the armed heads in them, you can see all those beautiful heads and all the details down in here, just like that, looking very, very nice indeed. Okay, so that's actually very nice job in there. And then again, we've got the sway braces, we've got the tail wheel area, all the different parts down in here, just like this. So very, very nice job. And again, all looks pretty good. Very nicely detailed with all of those. That we'll look at in a minute, because most of it is irrelevant. Okay, so down in here we've got the wheel wells and the various parts, and like I say, back of the speed brakes we're not using on this version, I think this other one, but it has got all the control surfaces down in here. And again, we've got different outriggers, the various parts, but this has got all the small stuff that we're probably going to need. So again, that's all looking very nice. A little bit of flash floating around. No ejector pins in doors or anything else like that. It's all looking very nice. Okay, so you can deflect, because they're on this one here. You got the slight deflection downwards for the flaps and the control surfaces at rest and things like that. So that's quite a nice touch as well. So that's those. All the little aerials, all the various parts, which all look good. You've got the nose wheel. Actually, very nice indeed. Okay, just stick that up there. Then on this one, obviously we've got the Aiden gun pod. We've got the FA2 nose. We've got parts we don't use for this particular aircraft, but hey ho, you've got other things we do use. So we've got the nozzles down in here. You can get aftermarket resin nozzles, which are quite nice, but these with a little bit of cleanup, there's nothing wrong with them whatsoever. They're not too bad at all. Okay, I know a lot of people will immediately run for the aftermarket ones, but really, I think a little bit of cleanup, they're absolutely fine. That's pretty good. Okay, then we've got a load of stuff you're never going to use. Okay, so good for the spares box, mind you. So it is a match pair, exactly the same, but obviously the GR3 and 1 don't carry Sea Eagle missiles, nor do they carry the AMRAAMs. So yes, you sort of make your mind up with these. But anyway, it does carry the Lima sidewinders, so that's fine. And again, you've got your various racks, and obviously the fuel tanks as well. I think it carries the smaller version on this. This is the FA2s, carries the slightly bigger ones, so they got those ones on there. But again, great for your spares box if you wanted to. And last up, we've got the clear parts, which normally are pretty darn good. So, okay, this has already got pre-done the deck cord into it, and I would probably leave it as it is. What they've cleverly done here, they've given it an edge. It's quite, so you could probably get away. The other way a lot of people ask about how to do deck cord, what I do is spray it white, and then I just run a cocktail stick down the edges and scrape clean, and then just leave it. But to be honest with you, I think you could almost get away with that as it is. Because they've made it quite rough, it stands out very nicely. So good on you. I think that's actually going to work. So yeah, definitely I'll probably leave it. Apart from that, obviously you've got the front glass work, all the rest of it, all looks absolutely beautiful. Very, very nice indeed, even though one's got a small scrape on it. Okay, so actually I would have to say that looks fantastic. Again, this just plonks down on the top, but you have got a nice little bead right the way around the outside. So if you wanted to, you could do the gasket work onto it, but generally you have got a spacer between you and the rest of the model. So that's pretty good on there. Apart from that, all the small parts are beautifully done. I might have been sounding a little bit negative on that kit, and I don't know why I'm giving it a hard time, purely because I think it's one of those things where obviously Kinetic is trying to get as many kits as they can out of a body, a fuselage and all the rest of it. We've been waiting for a GR1 for a long time and a GR3. I am surprised they've done it in the same boxing. I thought they would just play clever. We'll get the GR3 and then we'll get the GR1. Obviously you've got the AV8 one as well, Harrier as well, which was the first generation US Marine Corps one. Okay, that's out, which is basically a GR1 anyway. Okay, so you've got that, and obviously you could do Spanish Matador ones and everybody else's version, they did it from that as well. Beautiful, very nicely detailed right the way through. There's a couple of little things again which I'm not happy with. One is the instructions being like a photocopy. Come on, Kinetic, you're past that now. You're doing all this glorious box art, fantastic decals, everything's really nice, and it looks like you've been down the local corner shop making photocopies for instructions. Be very nice to get some nice colour ones as well. And again, just for pointing out, obviously the colours, I know you've got them on the box, but it's nice to have colour references for when you're doing your paintwork and things like that. Again, you spent a lot of money on artwork, you could use that obviously for doing the profile shots for it as well. Instructions as well, showing doors open. Again, it's a little bit old school as well with that one. So it'd be nice to show them closed up as if it is actually done. But don't forget, if you wanted to, you could do it like it's in maintenance and things like that with the actual doors all open. Generally, they are all closed up with the actual jet. Apart from that, I really can't fault it. It's beautiful. It'd be one of those kits I would build in a heartbeat, and I probably will end up building it next year as well, purely to go along with the rest of my Harrier fleet I tend to get going with as we make our way through. So now that sort of completes that early series of them. We've got the GR1, we've got the GR3s. You know, next are we going to see the GR5, and perhaps they're going to do their version of the GR7s. Okay, so that'd be nice. Obviously, they are available through Hasegawa. That's the thing, they're treading on their toes with those modern versions. But it's nice now that we've actually got the GR1, GR3, we got the FRS, the Navy version 1, and the FA2, the later version for it as well. So that really completes that out. And we've also got the trainers. So if you're a Harrier fan, Kinetic is now your go-to company for all the early Harriers and the Sea Harrier family. Afterwards, obviously, we've got, you know, obviously the Hasegawa versions, reboxes through Edards, reboxes through Revell, things like that. But generally, I can imagine perhaps they just carry it through, get us a nice GR5, then we get a GR7, perhaps a GR9 even for the later ones to complete the series off. But generally, I have to say, an absolute must.